Thanks, Tom. I got this.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Enjoy.
It looks fantastic. Hopefully.
Let me know.
I mean, it's Laura Conway is Laura's name, by the way, about that other book we talked about. Uh, I'll
Got
send
it.
you a reminder. I
So,
got this weird cough, so my apologies.
oh, um, well, I'm putting you on the spot, Gabe, because I didn't know until um I saw that you had some holiday book recommendations on our Warwick's list that you are
I'm doing a couple hours a week.
at Warwick's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's rad. I was like, who's Gabe? Do we have a new bookseller? We do. It's
Turns out
Gabe.
you do.
So
Not sure if it's gonna stick. We'll see. I was retired for 6 months. I kind of got used to it, so I don't know how. And things are getting hectic with my mama right now, who's getting worse and worse.
uh,
So I'm up to LA a couple times a week now, so it's changing.
well,
Hey, Beth.
welcome. Yeah, we're
Thank.
very lucky. I've been calling you Tea Time Emeritus, but now it's
No, I'm
bookseller.
like I think I
Mhm.
actually I'm officially I'm like Beth was, I guess. Or anyways, I'll pop in from time to time.
That's awesome.
I felt you
We
missing me, so
we need to make you a staff recommendation page
yes.
now that you're at liberty to discuss books from other wonderful publishers.
Yes, we're sending him his way so that he can wean himself off the Harper list.
Ooh, who's that?
Who?
A recovering rep.
You're always recovering.
All right. I'm so glad to have you three with me today. Julie is traveling to see the grandbabies. Isn't it great news, Darcy and Beth? It's so cool. So let's go. I want to hear about what you have to talk about. Andrea, Tom, and Gabe. So
All
please
right.
take us away, Andrea.
All right. Thanks everyone. Good to see folks. And hello to all those people far and wide that I cannot see, but I know are there. The first book I want to talk about today is perfect for holiday gift giving, The Americans, photographs by Robert Frank, with the original introduction by Jack Kerouac from back in the day. This is the celebrated return of Robert Frank's seminal photo book that is now back in print on Aperture, and it's just really nice to see this back in stock and printed in a gorgeous edition. It's one of the most important bodies of photography ever published, really. By an American and also just in the world, we think. This is now back in print and published in this new edition after a 2008 edition that Robert Frank himself helped work on. Um, he was still with us then, and he basically had control over every page that was published, and this follows in that tradition. It's really crazy to think of now, but Frank had a really hard time finding a publisher for this in the States. And so the first edition, the first publication of this book in the States was by Grove Press of all people. So that's a really great, I'm happy about that. And it's just one more reason to love Grove Press. And, I'm so happy that I get to represent those folks. Um, and um, and then the first publication, so the Grove edition was in 1959, and there was a French edition in 1958. And this is this publication is it's in conjunction with the centennial of Frank's birth. So just show um, a few of these images here. Um, and of course, Aperture has done an amazing job with the printing of this book. And It's just a serious celebration, and we're excited about it. It's $50 hardcover, which is a freaking steal for this gorgeous book. And as I said, just a very important book that we have on our list from Aperture, and go out and get it. Put it in your collection. It's going to look good.
Well, you answered my first question, which was who published it originally? And of course it was Grove. Had to be Grove.
Had to be Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing so many, they were publishing books that no one else wanted to touch. And it's just part of their grand tradition. So nice to see it back.
A must have,
Did he
I
al-
think.
Did he
I think
always
this
work
is
in black and white?
Yeah, and especially at the beginning of his career, but that's just sort of his signature look. And I just I mean, he just changed how people started thinking about um photographic images, pretty unvarnished, and he's one of the great masters. So I'm just happy because it's hard, it costs a lot of money to put these photographic compendiums, and so it's just really nice that we have this back in print and ready to go, and just open it. I think it's going to open up a whole new audience for his work. So
Cool. We have a couple copies, so if you know someone who that would be a good gift for, get it now because I see that Ingram still has it on order, perhaps. Um,
no, we just got we have stock.
okay, good.
It it first published um in September, and then we went out of stock immediately.
Okay,
We got another run from so they delivered
great.
it on time for the holidays.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for that in
Awesome.
the store and foist that on people. It's an important book. I think it's as much a sociological, anthropological study as it is a visual essay. It's pretty brilliant. I mean, there was an edition 40 years ago when I started selling books, which was well
Yeah.
after
Oh,
the
yeah.
initial publication. So it's come back around. But I saw that cover and it's just like Robert Franklin. Here it is. It's
You just
very
know. You just know. I mean, it's an iconic title. He is one of the greats. And so thanks for hand selling that when you're out and about.
it'll be gone.
Thank you. Okay, Tom.
Okay, so I love the rhythms of a publishing year because there are things that you know are going to happen. Beginning of the year, you're going to publish a book or books that don't get the attention they deserve. But if you're lucky, the end of the year when awards start and 10 best lists begin to show up, those books get a new life. That happened last week with Jason DeLeon's Soldiers and Kings, which won the National Book Award for nonfiction. And this was a book we published in March, and it got great reviews, got really good attention, but it's a difficult subject, and I think people just didn't come to it like we'd hoped they would. So now it has a whole new life. And it's the story. He's the founder. He teaches at UC, he teaches anthropology at UCLA. He's the founder of the Undocumented Migration Project. And this is a fascinating look at a group of people that we never hear about. And those people are the coyotes or the guides that bring people across the border. They are, hired by migrants, and they have their own stories to tell. And many of those stories reflect, the people that they're taking. They're doing this work for many of the same reasons, for climate change is happening, poverty, all these things. So he spent 7 years going back and forth to Mexico and deeper into Central America to tell their stories, and he got them the stories he tells about when he was asked, like, how did you get them to trust you, and that was by coming back and coming back and coming back. He didn't just get their stories, come back, write it up, No, he kept going back to hear more. So this is these are important stories, and it's a perspective you don't hear. And it's really an amazing idea for a book, and then to actually do the work, pull it off, so you get a better understanding of this billion-dollar global industry from the perspectives of the people right in the middle of it. So we have great quotes. Matthew Desmond, when we first published it, described it this way. He said, "This is a real one, a work of extraordinary reportage and compassion. Soldiers and Kings takes us deep inside the lives of smugglers, guiding desperate migrants across Latin America. One breathtaking scene follows another, rendered in vibrant, unsparing prose, documenting grinding poverty and violence, but also young love and redemption. It will shock you, move you, and leave you changed." So Matthew Desmond, author of Evicted. And then I have to quote from his speech the night last, whatever night that was, Wednesday or Thursday. "I refuse to live in a world without hope, and I will not accept the dystopian American future of unchecked corruption, border walls, misogyny, mass deportation, transphobia, climate change denial, and all this other garbage the incoming administration wants to propagate. I have more hope now than ever before." So that's Soldiers and Kings by Jason DeLeon. And the first book of, I'm sure this will be, a career. This is only the beginning of the work he's doing.
I see that he was the recipient of a Genius, the
Right?
MacArthur Genius Award
Yeah.
grant.
And I think a lot of that money went into this work and into the undocumented migration project.
Wow.
So it's one of those things you feel proud to be a part of the publication, but then you watch a book come out, you watch time move on. So I'm really happy. This happened last year with The Best Minds, which was on the New York Times 10 best list, and that got a whole new life. So that's what's happening here. So we're out of stock. We're printing as fast as we can. It'll be back in stock in another week or so.
I see too that it's on the finalist list for the Golden Poppy Award.
I
Uh,
wasn't sure if that was public or not. It is public.
it will be
Public
shortly
enough.
enough.
Okay, good. I did see
I
that
mean,
this morning. Yeah,
I feel like everyone in Tea Time is an insider anyway.
that's right.
So,
Yeah, so that was
um,
exciting to see because that was booksellers reading as fast as they can, as deeply as they can, into books that are, by and about California writers, and they picked it. It wasn't like they heard about the National Book Award. They already knew.
correct. Yeah, and if you're on our general mailing list, you'll receive an email in the first week of December with all the Golden Poppy finalists. They're really great lists, and you'll also see there will be a invitation to attend the virtual award ceremony in January to see the winners. Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Okay, Gabe.
Let me unmute first. So I'm going to talk about one of Andrea's books, which I picked up while on vacation in where was I? In Belgium, in Amsterdam. And when I came home, there was a box of books waiting for me with a copy of The Galley of Gabriel's Moon. So thank you, Andrea, for thinking of me. But it was funny. I was at the Waterstones that they have there in Amsterdam, and they had signed copies. I'm like, oh, they do that here too. So I grabbed a copy. I've been reading William Boyd. I started selling books in '83, and he published a book in '83. I think it was called The Ice Cream War, which is like his third book at that point. He's probably 3 years older than I am. So I was really young when I started selling books. So he's been doing, this is all he's done. He's done this forever. He's got a great body of work. He's had some misses, but he's had some really, really wonderful books. We talked about Any Human Heart a few weeks ago, Restless, which was just a really, it's, and I think Gabriel's Moon too. They're very accessible reads. They're very fun. They're very immersive. He can, and he's capable. I don't think he always does, but in some of his books, he really creates a sense of time and place, and they're very atmospheric. And this book, I thought he did a great job. It's a single young man who's a Brit. He's in Africa covering a oh my God, I forgot what country it was. One of the liberations of one of the African states. The
Zaire, but
Zaire, and one of his and the current prime minister, head of state, is assassinated, which kind of comes and goes throughout. Did it happen? Did it not happen? And he gets caught up in this, gets used by MI6 because he's had a track record working with his uncle, who's an art dealer, and he's pushed into this reluctant hero role. And he's not terribly heroic necessarily, but what he did with this book, it's a real simple read. I was trying to think what he did that was so outstanding in this book, and it's just a good novel for a reader. So it's like watching a great movie. I read it on a plane. It's just the time goes by really fast. Really good characters. There's a what's going to happen. The Gabriel's Moon thing is a whole fire with his mom that started early on that runs through the whole story. So there's like three mysteries that you have to get through, that you're working with as this book progresses. So I think that may be what he did, that he did so well. But he also, I was just in this world, late 50s, early 60s, post World War II. I was just in that world, and I just couldn't stop turning the pages. So I recommend a really strong William Boyd to you guys.
yeah, I'm glad that I was going to talk about this next week. I'm glad that you brought this up. I just feel like he's back on track with this book. It's like it's the William Boyd in, like the golden years of his career. And you cannot do better in terms of like the whole Cold War espionage writing, but it's so much more than that. I mean, there's an obsessional love story that builds over the course of the pages. And I just think he nails it. And I'm so happy that Grove Atlantic has carved out a spot on their list for him. And this is happening a lot where Grove, wants to make room and like build people like in the mature years of their career. They want to build them as house authors as if they are new authors, because they feel like these folks still have life, but they've, in some ways been tossed around a little bit and kind of pushed off to the side by the big five publishing houses. And so it's nice to see that they are, doing this sort of treatment as they did with, goodness, just died, Paul Oster, and others of that ilk that really deserve to be treated well and have their publications really like the energy put behind their new books. So I'm really glad that you like this, and I'm glad that it helped you on your plane ride home from your European trip. I'm sure it made the hours go by quicker.
You're on mute.
Oh,
Did that on purpose, obviously. My running gag, you're going to get bored of it.
What were you saying?
When you're reading something good, and then we saw that he was married to Madonna, the director. His new movie was very funny too, over the top World War II movie, a gentleman. I forget what it was called. So yeah, it was so much fun to read, and it's I just like that kind of the Peter Swanson, that the Christmas book that we did last year, kind of had the same effect on me, where it was a very simple telling. That was a really short book, and it's just really satisfying. So
cool. Baz Luhrmann, was that who it is? That
no, it was.
I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of his name. I love his stuff because they're like the visual.
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie.
Right.
Thank you.
Because the visuals are like so lush, and it's always action packed.
Always action packed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Beth. Go with Tom's quick mind. I can't remember a thing anymore.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Those Opulent Days by Jackie Pham. This is a what Grove is calling a transportive debut, and it definitely is that. It's delivers a classical historic murder mystery. It's a semi-locked room mystery where everybody is together when the murder happens, which is a nice little twist on that. And the thing that I really like about it is that the the author doesn't immediately reveal who is murdered, so we don't know who is murdered. We just know a murder's been committed. And so that kind of adds another element to this mystery. And as the mystery goes on, each character and their possible motives are revealed through flashbacks, going all the way back sometimes to these characters' childhoods. It goes, and then the real action starts a week before the murder. So it's got a lot going for it in terms of the plotting, and the devices are seamless. You really aren't going to know who committed this murder, which is so great. It's got, all the hallmarks. I think that this writer has all the hallmarks of becoming a great. I mean, this is an amazing debut, totally masterful in how this book is presented. Hard to do with a lot going on. I mean, it's got a sophisticated structure to it. It's got it's got historic vitality. So like it's a great historical novel as well. And then it's got upstairs, downstairs social commentary as well, for all of the Downton Abbey fans out there. And also 1920s Vietnam is completely just laid out in all of its drama and I don't know, I guess opulence. So as it says here, in Those Opulent Days in the title. So I think this is firing on all cylinders. It's a $27 hardcover from Atlantic Monthly, Grove's sister publishing house. And it is out now. So you can run on down to our friends at Warwick's or order it online if you guys are out of the state, like many people that are on this right now on this Zoom transmission. So
Cool cover too.
yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's an exciting debut, and it's really it's nice when you're impressed by a debut author, just like, wow, like, are you kidding me? This can't be a debut. It's just so well written.
Especially with a mystery. There's a lot that can go wrong with a mystery.
Indeed.
I feel like mystery readers are particularly uh I don't know, they not perceptive. Anyway,
Discerning.
they have high standards, I'd
Yes,
say.
they do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, people think, oh, it's just genre writing. Well, no, I mean, you have to nail it, or else it's, especially because there's so many dedicated fans, and the readership is pretty discerning. And
Yes.
so you can't get away with it. I forgot to read this quote. I'll just read it from the Los Angeles Times. 1920s Vietnam is lushly and leavenly described and its characters vividly realized. Rather than being a mystery, the novel has far more in common with noir. It examines the dark griminess that is part and parcel of the spectrum of humanity. So that's, gives you like kind of positions that a little bit more. So so it does lean towards noir.
I guess what was trying to say is that mystery readers are so well read and widely widely and numerously read, and they've seen all these different devices over and over again, so they really can spot when the mechanisms are faulty
Yeah.
in the plot. And
Yeah.
But if it's
anyway,
good
that looks
enough,
awesome. Yeah.
but if it's good enough, they're forgiving. I think you're like, you know what? That one didn't quite hit it, but the next one, it feels like the next one will be better. Sometimes
That's
you get that.
true. Like
I
they're
do that
they're
all.
ready
I
to
do that a
take
lot.
another. Uh-huh.
I think, and I
Yeah.
talked to a lot of mystery readers who are like, "Why'd you start it?" Well, I read the first book and it wasn't the best. It was all right for a first novel, and then I went for the second book, and then next thing I read the third, and eventually the author down by book 4 or 5 is doing a really great job.
Yeah.
So not everybody, but occasionally.
Mhm. All right, Tom.
All right, well, enough of this escape. I'm here to tell you about the real world.
Ah,
This is Power Metal. The subtitle is The Race for the Resources That Will Shape the Future by Vince Beiser. So he's the author of The World in a Grain, which was about sand and the importance of sand in our world and in our lives, which is really amazingly fascinating book. This is even more obviously topical. It's about, like, for example, 60 different metals that go into the iPhone. And we all have iPhones, we all have all this technology, but we don't think enough about the resources in the world, the resources that are finite in the world that are going in to create these amazing objects. We're going to need more of those resources as the green revolution happens, as you know, it's a trade-off. There are many trade-offs, and so the book is about, like, he's like an environmental investigative reporter. He's traveling the world. He goes to all over the world. He goes to the most toxic garbage dump in Ghana to see, because so much of the mining and so much of this is happening in, in not America, not Europe, the rest of the world. Even though we're doing the most, we're causing the most problems. So it's environmentalism meeting capitalism in this, uneasy way. Really, it's a strain on the world right now, and we're not dealing with it. So he's talking about, like, cadmium, lithium, many of these elements I've honestly never heard of, but they're all important to go into these computers, iPhones. And it's something, so the book is not didactic. It's really just it's practical, looking at what is happening, what we'll need in the future, and, kind of the critical importance that, this stuff's going to play in our lives, and countries are not dealing with it. No surprise there. But most of the destruction that goes into getting these metals, of course, is coming from, like, countries, like I said, countries in the developing world. So it's asking really hard questions, but very accessible and important. So Power Metal. I love this cover too, because you can see
yeah.
the
And I
modern
keep
city, but beneath the modern city is there's a lot of stuff.
I
Yeah.
can't help but hear like a power chord, like a metal
Yeah, I
power chord
know.
whenever
Great
you say the
title.
title. Oh,
That's
Yeah.
what I was
yeah.
thinking. I thought it was a music book too.
Yeah. Um, so I was watching Elevensies from Diesel
Yeah.
Bookstore,
Yeah.
and Tom talked about this book, and Deborah there pointed out how Tom is so good at telling you about books that you didn't know you wanted until Tom tells you about them, or things that you wouldn't necessarily be interested in. And this is one of them. She also mentioned the refrigeration book.
Yes, yes.
What is that called again?
Uh, uh, we
I
we
keep,
we figured it out. You figured it out that day. It's called. I'll figure it out.
yeah, but
But
that
you're
also
right. That was a
sounds,
book that I and anybody that read it was like, why would I ever need a book about refrigeration? And yet that was the book.
yeah,
Um,
super fascinating. It reminds me, the Mark Kurlansky's or
yes.
the Mary Roach, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's true too. Yeah. A
Um,
deep dive into a subject that, if the writing is good enough and the thinking and, the everything behind it, it's worth the read.
Good stuff. Thank you. Okay, Gabe.
I don't know. Tom just bummed me out, man.
My
Yeah, well.
specialty.
I'm like, it's Christmas, dude.
Ah.
I am taking the other tack. I am going full entertainment this week. because this is what I see. Um, so I don't like to present books of people who don't usually show up at tea time, but this book is so good, getting really good reviews. It is The White Ladder, Triumph and Tragedy at the Dawn of Mountaineering by Daniel Light. It's just a good book that needs to be read. I've been reading mountaineering books since I was in my most of my life, it seems. And there's some really, if you've never read any, and I think probably a lot of you have, there's some wonderful writing. There's something about either the open spaces or the sort of people who climb straight vertical walls and steep, high altitude ice fields. Maybe they question more, but there's really some really amazing writing in some of these books. This is it's a broad history, but a focused history at the same time. It's a narrow look at a handful of people, but a lot of people. And it is about the evolution of climbing. It is the triumphs attached to climbing. It is the expeditions where everyone disappears. It reminded me of one of my favorite books. Like one of my favorite books ever was a book called Eiger Wall of Death by a guy named Roth. I read it in 1983 when I was working at Vroman's, and I had to buy a copy. And it was in hardback when I could afford a hardback book back in 83, making $4 an hour. But it was such you couldn't put it down. It was gripping narrative all about the climbs on the Eiger. And this is a book that kind of felt a little like that. That was various vignettes of various expeditions. And he does the same thing here. It is not, it's slightly political, but mostly it is really about the adventure and the ups and downs, and kind of a broad look at the history of climbing and characters who you've never heard of. These considered minor characters. There was a woman who was quite a pioneer. There were a number of Sherpas who never got any credit, and then just some casual people who did some amazing things. So the writing is really good. And I think that's the other thing about this book. So it's nonfiction. You could read snippets of it. It really does. It's a book that you can pick up and put down and pick up and put down and get through it either quickly or slowly. Really good narrative, page turning narrative. But sometimes you just need a quick fix of some nonfiction, some exhilarating and some knowledge, and you put it down. So it's the way it's laid out is I think really smart.
Another beautiful cover there.
Mm-hmm.
Who publishes that, Gabe?
It's Norton. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's I mean, that's high praise. I mean, so anybody who's interested in that kind of narrative, that's going to be a winner for sure.
I think it's going to be a winner. Nice review in the New York Times if you've got access this past Sunday.
Okay. Quick segue, Gabe. I want to recommend a book to you. It's called Two Sherpas from Charco Press. It's fiction. They do all books in translation, I believe, and it's very good. And
Love it.
Diane also mentioned, speaking of books like we were talking about with Frostbite and also Power Metal, Diane is reading Silk by Arathi Prasad. And I think Gabe talked about that book when it came out too. So that sounds really good. I believe.
I don't think it was me, but
No?
we had a
Someone
book called The Silk, the nonfiction, that one, the Harper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was a fun read. That was one of those books that had so much going for it. I thought didn't really blow up. I don't think it got the attention it deserved, but that book was just history, sociology, science, farming. It's crazy. It's just a great read.
It'd also be a good gift. Okay. I guess we're at a lightning round.
Yep. I know I've talked about this book a while ago. This is a book that been out since the lockdown period, basically. But it's just such a incredible volume that is giftable at any time to the children in your lives. But especially now, it'd be like, I think, for any young reading enthusiast, this would be like something that they will be very excited to unwrap under the tree or during Hanukkah, etc. And it's $32, but how many pages we got here? It's 424 pages. It is worth every penny. It's highly illustrated. This Britannica all new kids encyclopedia. And this is the kind of book that I would have basically killed for as a child. And I'd have loved to add that to my little library. It will provide hours of reading enthusiasm or reading, joy to kids. It's loaded with photographs, like I said, illustrations, sidebars on so many subjects. So it talks about space, earth science, medicine, animals, mummies, history. The list goes on, and it's really accessible. And I just think that this book should be in every independent bookstore in the land, and any kid who's really interested in knowledge and curious about the world, it's a perfect fit for their home library. So the Britannica All New Kids Encyclopedia, What We Know and What We Don't. My little backlist jewel.
I miss encyclopedias, man.
Yeah.
The Britannica, man. I did a lot of punishment assignments out of encyclopedias.
Oh,
Yeah, back in the day.
They were loaded.
And see, this is the thing that because a lot of kids like know how to use the internet, obviously, and they can look up stuff, but this is serious hours of browsing.
mhm.
They look at one page and they go, oh, wait, what about this? And they can find that subject in this book too. And that's the magic of this book.
It's an internet rabbit hole in book form.
That's right.
Takes you all different places you didn't expect to go.
Yep. Perfect. That's a perfect description of it.
Analog rabbit hole.
Yes.
Okay, Tom.
We didn't have Britannica. We had World Book. I think a lesser. I would say lesser, but
The Britannica was the pinnacle. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure.
that was
One of the things, well, speaking of childhood, one of the kinds of books I read about the FBI, believe it or not, and Bonnie and Clyde and all that stuff. So we have a brand new book out this week called Gangster Hunters. That's for people like me who love those stories of, the subtitle is How Hoover's G-Men Vanquished America's Deadliest Public Enemies. So maybe every generation needs a new look at that time period. So 1932, the FBI didn't have jurisdiction over murder cases, but that changed in 1933. And that's when this war on crime began, which looks a little bit different now from today's perspective. But let's look at it from how things looked then and how people behaved then. So you're talking about, so then there's a lot of young agents came out of law schools and white collar jobs to become FBI agents. And they were chasing these, the Barker gang, the John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, Babyface Nelson, all these people, Pretty Boy Floyd. So it was really a crazy, crazy time in American history. And so John Oler he writes about all different kinds of subjects. In this case, he interviewed 30 descendants of these early FBI agents. He also had access to something called Grapevine, which was the private publication of the FBI, and former FBI agents had this newsletter. And that's connected to the official historian of the FBI. So a lot of this stuff hasn't been seen before. So this is a companion. A couple of years ago, we published G-Man, which was the major biography of J. Edgar Hoover, which won all those awards. This is less about Hoover and about the agents themselves. So it's a companion. So Gangster Hunters There's definitely people on your Christmas list who would enjoy this.
For sure.
Absolutely. Tommy guns a blazing.
Yeah. Yes. These pictures. I mean, look at that. I mean, these people.
Oh yeah,
I
it
was,
was, it was like the wild, wild west, even though it
Yeah.
was in the Midwest or the South, I mean, Pretty Boy Floyd and all those guys, they were in the South.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Yeah.
That looks like a Christmas card I've seen somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I was talking to a friend and he was saying he can't really think of movies that he thinks of as autumnal, but he was going to be watching When Harry Met Sally. And I was like, well, TCM's been doing Noirvember, and that puts me into an autumnal mood. So I'd
Eddie
say
Miller.
this also has a little bit of that feeling, which is a really strange,
Yeah.
I don't know, thing to think, but
We have a fascination. I mean, right now we have a fascination with true crime podcasts, but we had the Wild West and the Billy the Kids and the Dalton Gang,
Yeah. Yeah.
the shoot 'em up there. We had this period here. I grew up reading those books. I grew up reading. I had a flashback recently. I forgot how many mafia books I read
Oh,
and Cosa
yeah.
Nostra books in the '60s and '70s. So we had that period. I mean, it's crazy how we are so in love with the bad boys in America.
Yeah. A rich history.
bring us home, Gabe.
But take you home with an easy one. I'm never going to make you think too much. A fairly light list today. A fun list, I think. And then Growing Wings, the inside story of Red Bull Racing, because you know what? F1 is just really, really hot. I just rang up a lady this past week who bought 3 of those Grand Prix books that I talked about last week. She came in and gobbled them up for her son-in-law and a nephew or something. They were all fans. They each different households. They each get a book. So I think it's a gimme. It's something I think that a lot of booksellers don't know anything about, primarily because booksellers are not sports fans necessarily for some reason. But there are some. But this is just, I think, an easy gimme sale. If you have somebody on your list who likes any kind of racing to begin with, particularly F1, which is blowing up right now and growing. This is a story. It's the 20th anniversary of Red Bull. It's a fairly new team when you compare it to Ferrari and some of the other teams. And it's funny, teams have come and go all the time in racing. So 20 years is not necessarily a short stint, but they started winning almost right away after 5 or 6 years. The Red Bull guy, that dude made so much money. It's ridiculous. I can't tell you how much money is involved in F1. It's like some kid crashed a car last week, 2 cars. It was like $3 million worth of rebuilding a car for a weekend, and he crashed another car this weekend. I think it's got to be like $1 billion per. Some of the big teams blow that kind of money. And the technology is really crazy. I'm in love with the technology of F1 because they do a lot of other things and they have fun. I saw them create a drone the other day on YouTube, like a drone that can go 200 miles an hour. But it took a lot of people to get it there. It started off as a kind of vanity project. So there's a lot going on. Red Bull won like 4 championships in a row with Sebastian Vettel, who was a German driver for them early on. They had some lean times, and now I think they just on yesterday, Max Verstappen won his 4th championship in a row, and he's got a lot of fans. He's got a lot of fans, and F1 has a lot of fans. Even if you're not a Red Bull fan, I think it's an easy gift because it is all about F1 and the sport. So easy money, I think. I think it's an easy recommend for somebody who likes racing, sports. It's an interesting cast of characters that are involved in racing. Criminal. I mean, the old guy that ran it was just mired up to his neck in scandal and corruption, and he lived for a long time, Bernie Ecclestone. So it's quite a ride.
Are there pictures?
So
Okay.
I think
Yeah, that's a nice pun there too. Quite a ride.
Yes.
Nice.
Very good. Cool. Thank you. Um, if anyone here is local, you can meet Tom this week,
Yeah,
right?
you
Oh no,
can.
I'm sorry, next week, next Thursday.
Yeah, come, tea time.
Tea time in person. Good stuff. I don't know if Gabe's gonna be around. Probably
I
not.
heard a rumor that he might be.
I'll be there on the 6th.
On the
Yeah,
6th.
that's
Okay.
from that's what we're talking about, right?
I think the 5th is rep night.
Oh,
Oh, maybe the 5th.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I have a I have a I committed to one in the South Bay that night, so I won't be at that one.
we will miss you for sure.
Sadly, I'm
Where
sorry.
at?
At Pages.
Pages.
Oh, great. Another great bookstore. So if anyone's in Page's neighborhood, you can meet Andrea.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this for us because I don't know. There's nothing like, booksellers are great, but straight from the horse's mouth during the holidays is so awesome.
And there's
And
nothing like meeting readers. I mean, that's the best part. We don't get
yeah,
that opportunity too many times, so would not miss it.
yay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I know you guys are going to have a great session, and we'll have a good session up in at Pages, and but it's like it's a family affair. Okay, it takes everybody.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
We
Ah,
need, like the publishers need us, the reps, and we need booksellers to hand sell the books that we sell to the stores. So, and then we need the readers.
Yes, we do.
We need those readers. That's what it's all about. So putting like good books in the readers' hands, it's just a chain.
Darcy's gonna be there.
Excellent. Can't wait.
Yeah, it is a beautiful circle, Beth. Thank you. And you're all an essential part of this circle. All right. So see you all when we see you next.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Thank you so much for being here during a holiday week, everyone,
for
the
sure.
readers and the reps. And
Thanks
see
all.
you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.